This call is being recorded.
Assalamu alaikum.
Well,
Is everyone present and ready for Sunday school today? Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Then I'm going to open this meeting in the name of Allah, who appeared and is in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. And with the Farad prayer. Surely I have turned myself, being upright to him who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of the polytheists. Surely my prayers, my sacrifices, my life, and my death are all for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. No associate has he, and this am I commanded, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King, there is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been unjust to myself, and I confess my fault. So grant me protection against all my faults, for none grants protection against faults but thee. And guide me to the best of morals, for none guides to the best of them but thee, and turns away from me the evil morals but thee. Amen. All right. Before we continue with our reading of the Genesis years, unpublished and rare writings of Elijah Muhammad, the Muhammad children are going to recite the 23rd chapter of the Book of Psalms by heart, starting with Naeem.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me for all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yes, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head in oil, and my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Yay. Alright. Alright, so we will now continue with our reading of the Genesis years, unpublished and rare writings of Elijah Muhammad, and the order will go as follows. Naeem's going to start us off with reading Mr. Muhammad Speaks on page 103. Amaria will read Mushroom Growth of Negro Muslim Movement Bard on page 105. I will read A Nation in a Nation on page 107. Kamal will read So-Called Negro Leadership Part 1. Sister Rebecca will read So-Called Negro Leadership Part 2. And Brother James will finish us off by reading No Justice for So-Called Negroes Part 1. And with that said, we will start off with Naeem reading Mr. Muhammad Speaks on page 103.
Mr. Muhammad Speaks. The Monroe, Louisiana Southern courts with their Southern judges of hatred and attorneys of hatred are Negro bloodthirsty, take their own law of justice, twist it up and throw it back up on the shelf. And when they look to see a poor, innocent, so-called Negro begging for justice, as his grandparents before their grandparents, as far back as 400 years ago, they receive nothing but the spitting of anger and threats of murder from the judge throughout the courts of America. Just to mention justice for a so-called Negro in the South is an insult to the judge, who is supposed to be the judge of right and wrong between the state and opposing attorneys. He becomes a more vicious enemy against the poor so-called Negro than even the prosecuting attorney when he sees a so-called Negro before him. The so-called Negroes have no justice under the law, not only in the South, but nowhere in America. As I plainly stated this in Washington, D.C., in 1959, in the Uline area, before 10 million people, that everything has failed us as far as justice is concerned. The Justice Department in Washington, the churches, the priests, and the preachers have all failed the so-called Negroes when it comes to justice. By the help of Allah and by the blood of the original man, whose father is the originator, I, Elijah Muhammad, will fight for this cause to get our people justice in America. And by the help and power of Allah and the power of the universe, and the power that is in the Nation of Islam, and the power of every atom that is bound in the planet Earth and that is bound in other planets. What angers America is just the idea of her 400-year-old slaves now wanting to go over to the paradise of freedom, justice, and equality under the crescent of the divine religion of Islam, where they will have sincere brotherhood and friends throughout the civilized world. America knows that under her flag we have received nothing but hell, beatings and killings without due process of law day and night. Not in the past only, but in the present. She wants to make some so-called Negroes believe that the religion of Islam can be thrown out of the window by turning hypocrites themselves and trying to make democracy work. This is done just to deceive the so-called American Negroes. But I say to everyone who reads this paper that Islam is that Islam is here among these black people to stay as long as there is life in their bodies. The God of Islam, Allah, is with me and will back me and others up who are working hard to deliver our people from such an evil and merciless race of devils. What glory and honor does a so-called Negro get under the stars and stripes? No honor, no glory. Only hell. We have proof of this by their so-called courts and justice. There's no justice for us. And this American news. She would like to hurt every one of you and make you angry. It pleases America to do you evil, but not we Muslims. We will declare the truth and die for it. Thanks to Allah for removing fear from us, and I pray that He puts it in them that they may fear and tremble every day until they be taken out of the way.
Mushroom growth of Negro Muslim movement there. The Negro Muslim movement, whose California headquarters are in Los Angeles, came under investigation more than 2 years ago. The State Senate Fact-Finding Subcommittee on Un-American Activities disclosed Monday. Since that time, the movement has grown at an amazing pace, the committee reported. The movement, which is sometimes referred to by its officers as the Lost Foundation of Islam in North America, is competing with the communists for the Negro minority, the report said. It, too, is based on force and violence and class hatred. It, too, operates in secrecy and is based on a fanatic adherence to a potent ideology. It too advocates the forcible overthrow of our government, indeed of the entire white race. Estimating that Muslim members number 70,000 in the country, the committee declared, every real or fine every real or fancy act of discrimination drives more Negroes in Muslim ranks. Prominent Negro leaders throughout the country have unanimously condemned the Muslim movement. But virtually all of them concede that it has exerted a great appeal to many Negroes. It has given them a purpose, a hope, something to work for. It has bound them together with ties of religious and anti-white fanaticism. And although members declare they are conscientious objectives, they would at the same time they would eagerly rise in violence against the white man. The report said Muslims advocate separation from the white slave master and building a social economic system for the deliverance and salvation of Negro people. Muslims in prisons, the report pointed out, have been causing trouble by demanding complete segregation from white inmates and the right to practice their rights. The movement was founded in 1933 by Wallace Farratt in Detroit, and for the last 15 years has been headed by Elijah Khalid Muhammad, the messenger of Allah. The main office of the California Muslims is at Washington Boulevard in Figueroa Street. Muslims, the report said, are required to follow many of the dictates of the Muslim religion. This includes praying 5 times a day facing toward Mecca. The committee wondered whether this mishap, which resulted in the conviction of so many communist leaders in this country, might not be applied to the Muslims.
A nation in a nation. We, the once slaves, have grown to be a nation of 20 million or more, in a nation that enslaved our fathers, and to this day has deprived us of equal justice under their own laws. No equal civil rights. Most of us are treated by the white citizens of America as animals. It is common to see and hear of white mobs attacking, beating, shooting down the poor blacks, whose fathers and mothers' labor, sweat, and blood helped to make America the richest government on earth. Nevertheless, we are yet the most hated and mistreated people. Allah God wants to make a great nation out of us, the so-called Negroes. But if we desire to remain the slave or servants for our slave masters, it is all right with Allah. Do we love ourselves and our children? If so, why not we build a future for ourselves rather than beg the same slave masters for jobs and equal shares in whatever they have, even to equal membership in their society and families, which would be intermarriage? This is definitely not a wise thing to do, but a very foolish and destructive thing for the one slave and his master to do. By the help and guidance of Allah God, I have put before you the wise and best thing for your future. Firstly, some of this earth that we can call our own. Without some of this earth that we can call our own, we cannot hope to even become a free nation out of the nation of the slave master. It is far more important to teach separation of the blacks and whites in America than prayer. Teach and train the blacks to do something for self in the way of uniting and keeping a home on this earth that they can call their own. There is no such thing as living in peace with white Americans. You and I have tried without success. Look what white Americans did to my followers in Los Angeles, California on April 27, 1962. They know that we, the Muslims, are a peaceful people and do not carry arms, but the heartless enemy devils care not for peace. They were created and made to hate peace. Night and day, they are out seeking a chance to beat and kill you, while at the same time you are out seeking to show them how much you love them. A very foolish people you are. How can anyone other than you, the so-called Negroes, love an open enemy? It is the right time that we seek independence for our nation from the evils of our open enemies, and not the foolish things other organizations are doing. They want our people integrated into our open enemies, to be destroyed as a people. They seek that recognition, which means better qualifications, education, knowledge of self and others, manners and self-respect, and the respect of others. But our people just do not have these qualifications until they first come to Islam and bear witness to what Allah God has revealed to me. No intelligent and refined society will accept us until we have the above stated qualifications. We just cannot compete with them in business unless we unite and get some of this earth that we can produce for our people's needs with. For example, here in Chicago, Illinois, the black man is robbed on the south side of the city through giant cut-rate stores owned by the white man, who makes it almost impossible for black people's independent stores to survive. But with the right understanding and business unity among us, we could turn this great flow of millions of dollars from going to the north side's white businessmen back into the pockets of the poor black man on the south side. Ask me how you can do it. We must stop being foolish as to spend our few hard-earned dollars with the rich of the land. You who are wealthy or rich among us should help set up independent businesses that your people demand, which would add wealth to your people and also yourself through lower prices. This would also give employment to our people, but to be successful, we must have some of this earth to produce our people's needs.
So-called Negro Leadership, Part 1. The leadership of my people, the so-called American Negro, has absolutely aided the slave masters keeping us a subjected people. The leadership continues to make cries for social equality with white people. What intelligent people would want to fraternize, intermingle, integrate, sweetheart, and marry the kidnappers, murderers, and enslavers and the burners of their people? Only a people such as my people with blind leadership would ever desire to strive for such a lowly, disgraceful act. The blind cannot lead the blind. The leaders of my people want to show great favor with the slave master against the good of their own people. Local legal editors, preachers, lawyers, and other professional leaders of our people continue to lead the fight in begging the white man for civil rights. History shows we have been in a part of the world for more than 400 years. We served more than 300 of those years in servitude slavery. We have been so-called free for 100 years since we were freed. We have been called citizens of America. Why then are we seeking civil rights if we are citizens of America? Why should the leaders of our people continue to beg the government to grant us civil rights? We don't have to beg the government to give us those glorious benefits that are laid down in the Constitution and the 13th and 14th Amendments. If we are citizens, we should be enjoying them without asking for them. Yet we are still begging for justice. We need a better leadership. The preacher leadership of my people are in the most ignorant class. The knowingly lead of our people to a path of destruction and disaster because of their love of and fear of the enslavers of their people. We have records of several so-called Negro preachers who have made attempts to attack and destroy the Muslims and myself, the messenger of Allah. Reverend Borders of Atlanta, Georgia, on April 9, went on the air and stated to a radio audience that he would drive the Muslims from the city of Atlanta if he had the people with him. Reverend Borders would have an easier task of trying to dry the oceans up rather than direct his slave master's slave-keeping attacks at us. Another preacher in Monroe, Louisiana, said the white officers who broke into our religious service March 5 on an unarmed people should have killed us. This ignorant preacher, eager to show his slave master that he is not with his cause for the defeat of his own people. Reverend Garner C. Taylor, who was wearing the Reverend Jackson for controlling the white man's Baptist religion, chose the occasion again to denounce the Muslims who practice Islam, the religion of Almighty God Allah. The preachers claim that they are men of God. Where is their proof? It was the preachers who condemned Jesus to his death. It was the elders who opposed Moses. It's always been the clergy class who opposed the prophets of God. Yes, the scribes, the Pharisees, as they are referred to in the scriptures, have always opposed the righteous men of Allah. Who told me today the religious leaders of our people will soon learn they cannot overcome the purpose of God. In the 61st surah of the Holy Quran, it states that they desire to put out the word of Allah with their mouth. So-called Negro leadership does not care to give their own people justice as long as the white man does not. The Negro leadership and the slave masters are as two murderers and thieves of my people. The white man murders us. The Negro leaders rob us. In fact, both were robbers. Since our being kidnapped and brought to America, we have received nothing but promises. It's promises which today satisfy the leaders of my people. There is the promise of fair employment and integration or social mixing. The devil is full of tricks and we cannot put any confidence in him. The leaders of my people must remember that we are all black people of the black nation. The hurt of one member should be the hurt of all of us. Regardless of the type of leader for my people, he should not be afraid to speak for his brother. Regardless to where he may be, the leader should be for his brother. He should not flinch. My people must wake up and know that their present leaders have failed them. Such leadership should and must be discarded. The religion of Islam has powerful, life-giving effects on the believer. Islam makes the believer feel that he should get up and begin doing something for self. Islam makes you and I see each other as brothers. Islam arouses the old love for each other that was put asleep in us by the slave masters. I represent Islam as a religion to you. I want you to know the power and effect of that religion on us. If you ever accept Islam, you will stand up as one of the people and nations. You will not lay as a race of slaves. We have God with us. He is not to come because he is already present among us. Some of us today in the vast moving world do not even take a moment of time to think or even check to see if this is the day God visits people. God visits to a people, or if it's the day of the devil's visit. I have been sent directly from the Almighty God, whose proper name is Allah. He has given me which the prophets wrote of, which will give my people life. It will bring light to you, and your understanding will return. The leadership of my people will be wise in joining with me in this divine awakening of our people. The interference will lead only to their destruction in a lake of fire with the enemy of their people.
Excuse me, Sister Rebecca. Okay, so Sister Rebecca.
Go to the next presenter.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, Sister Rebecca, it's your turn to to read.
Yes, sir. So-called Negro Leadership Part 2. Why do you oppose freedom, justice, and equality for your people and self? Freedom indeed has not been given to you in America. No equal justice has come to you, nor equal opportunity. Should not the leadership seek good for his people, even at the cost of his life? What future do you have in being integrated in the white race? Who are the children of those who enslaved our fathers and mothers? Daily, we live under the very shadow of death at the hands of their children. We want for our 20 million people here in America what white America has for herself. You are a nation within a nation depending on white America for sole existence, without trying or even seeking a chance to try and do something for self, other than to beg for that which belongs to white America. You beg as though you are too lazy to work and build a future for yourself. What future does 20 million no whites have among their slave masters? It is not clear to you that your hope of existence depends only on whatever type of labor the white man will offer you. Can you hope to continue seeking employment for your 20 million in the factories and offices of the white man, while he already has unemployment among his own, which is increasing daily? Ever-changing map of the white world is increasing. Their problem of existence, you may be unable to see and foresee this. This is why we would like to help you see. 20 million ex-slaves falling or refusing to see and go for themselves today will prove to be fatal for them in the near future. If the blind cannot see his own way, refuse to be led by the hand of the seen one, who can be sorry for his stumbles and falls? Allah God is with us to do something for self, but you oppose to doing something for self and choose to beg for the crumbs while there are clear signs that soon there will be no crumbs for you. Judge between you and me what I'm seeking for our people and what you are seeking for them. I'm seeking a permanent home for my people where they can be free to build a future for themselves. If you were only wise enough to come and confer with us, the picture would be different, a different one. Gone forever is the Negro mule and plow. The white man is ever advancing in science and machinery, mechanical devices, and is rapidly putting our people in the breadline. Something must be done by us to check the spread of poverty, suffering, and want for our people. We do not have to seek the solution. God has given it himself. Submit to Allah, unite, and let us go for self on some of this good earth. You, as the religious leaders of the people, are doing your people more harm than good in seeking to integrate with them, with the slave masters, for total destruction. We must be separated by those who have enslaved us and are not willing to do justice nor grant us equal opportunity. We must unite and seek these things for ourselves.
No Justice for So-Called Negroes, Part 1. The so-called Negroes of America will soon learn that there is no justice under the flag of America for them. You will soon bear witness that the white race of America is none other than the real devils in person, as Allah has said. If you will only think how they have mistreated you and I for the past 400 years, and the things that they have planned against the so-called Negroes, you would say to Allah and His Messenger that you bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who has revealed to us the truth and pointed out to us our open enemies, the devils, who have been concealed from our knowledge. They hate God for making them manifest, and they curse the name of Allah, God, in the presence of the Muslims. They have been persecuting us ever since 1932 without just cause. Many times we have been attacked by them with intentions of crushing us to keep you from hearing the truth of them that God has revealed. They have not and cannot deny the fact that they are the real devils. This truth of them they call hate teachings, for they know you would not like them if their true self was revealed to you. All one has to do is read the past history of the white race, and you will find that they have filled the world with evil and bloodshed since the day they were grafted and given the power to rule. That power is now being taken from them. They do not love peace. They hate the black people and cannot and do not try to hide it. They will make false charges against you, hire false witnesses to testify against you, even among your own black people, and say that you are planning evil and take you into their courts before their unjust judges and juries and give life imprisonment for nothing. When you hire a lawyer, he has to argue your case with both the prosecutor and judge, who are supposed to listen and judge the justice of the argument made between the opposing and defense lawyers according to the evidence of the case. In our case, we, the poor black people of America, especially if he or she is a Muslim and follower of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, you will see the judge fighting the defense as much as the prosecutor. It is almost useless to hire a lawyer of your color or kind, because they don't give him any respect. Regardless of how much he knows about the law, the black lawyers know this. Consequently, he is really afraid to use that part of the law that would help their clients or prove to the world that there is no justice in the lily white courts of America that the white man is bound to respect when it comes to the so-called Negroes. Unless the Negro is an Uncle Tom or a stool pigeon, who is as poisonous against his or her own kind as the devils themselves. A couple of weeks ago in Monroe, Louisiana, the chief and commissioner of the police force went to a peaceful assembly of my followers where they were praising Allah, God, and teaching others of their kind to do likewise behind closed doors. The chief and commissioner, without any warrant or protest from the people or any disturbance of the peace, goes and break the door in with their other officers and start beating the heads of the peacefully assembled people and hauls them to jail, put false charges against them, and set their bonds from $1,500 to $2,500 within 1 week. They were ready to railroad them to prison for long terms for nothing, but to try to hide their own evil done against a peaceful people. If we had not been present with a lawyer of their kind and the cash for bond. Amen.
That concludes our reading of the Genesis years, unpublished and rare writings of Elijah Muhammad. And next week, the order of reading will go as follows. Amaria will start us off by reading No Justice for So-Called Negroes Part 2. Diane will read No Justice for Us in USA, Injustice Increased, Hits Free Devil Murders, and Deliver Poor and Needy. I will read Some Herbs That We Can Call Our Own. Kamal will read Peace Part 1. Sister Rebecca will read Peace Part 2. And Brother James will read America Persecutes the Muslims. Do we have any guests who would like to present today?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll have the Muhammad children give their Sunday school presentations, followed by Sister Rebecca and then Brother James. And we'll start with Daim.
I did my Islamic presentation on our video titled The Black Messiah 2012, AD Part 6 of 28. Jesus is buried today in Jerusalem. The body of Jesus, or what they call the Holy Grail, is there. The Holy Grail is a cup. Turning to the book of Mark, chapter 14, verse 23, we read, And he took the cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, and they all drank of it. And he said unto them, This is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many. Here Jesus is talking about the cup which was filled with his blood. But the cup he was referring to was his physical body. The physical body is a vessel that holds your blood. Jesus' father, Joseph, retrieved his body from Roman authorities and secured Egyptian embalmers to embalm Jesus' body for 10,000 years. No Christian can view Jesus' body today unless they pay $6,000 and have a certificate from the Pope of Rome. His body is said to be in the Mosque of Omar. There, it is guarded by Muslims, and Jesus was a Muslim. Visitors are stripped of all weapons, handcuffed behind their backs, and escorted by well-armed Muslim guards into the tomb. There they will see 5 images, the real Jesus and 4 reflections. They will have no idea which is the real body. Muslims can freely travel to Jerusalem and view the body. To protect the secret of Jesus' tomb, crimes were committed in the past by the church,
Conference locked.
which does include massacre, which is described as an extreme overreaction and fear of criticism by those with the knowledge. Amen.
The 7 Spirits of God and the Hidden One, Part 8. The Lamb of God in the Bible is associated with the number 7, or we say that the Lamb's number is 7. What happened after the Lamb ascended to the throne of God, took the book from God's hand, and opened the book? Well, to find this out, we would turn to the book of Revelation, chapter 10, and read verses 1 through 7, which reads, And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot upon the earth, and cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and sware by him that liveth forever and ever, who created the heaven, and the things that therein are, and the earth, and the things that therein are, and the sea, and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer. But in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God should be finished, as he hath declared to his servants the prophets. In the first part of these verses that we just read, we are told that this man of God has a rainbow on his head. A rainbow is a physical phenomenon that is composed of 7 lights. And the fact that he had a rainbow on his head means that he had 7 lights on his head. This is significant because it shows that he had an enlightened mind. He has ascended through and achieved 7 levels of consciousness. The 7 lights on his head represent his 7 eyes, or his 7 levels of insight, which goes back to his 7 levels of consciousness. And this is why this man is characterized by having a rainbow on his head. The next part of these verses tells us that he had a book open, and He hath the voice of a lion as when it roareth. Where did he get the book? Well, remember, the Lamb took the book out of the hand of him that sat on the throne. And he opened this book, and when he had opened it, he began to speak as when a lion roareth. Why as a lion? Because the Lamb is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And since the Lamb took the book, this would make the Lamb the greater taker, which means that the Lamb would be a member of the tribe of Shabazz. Amen.
I did my Islamic presentation on my video titled Master Farad Muhammad, The Iron Will of God, The Crucifixion of Elijah Muhammad, Part 4 of 10. The last messenger Allah sent was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He often said that he had to suffer what the other prophets suffered. He represented all these prophets, and he was murdered on the Sabbath day. Savior's Day was always held on February 26th. When the messenger died on February 25th, 1975, Savior's Day was held the next day, on February 26th, 1975. He also forbid Muslims to have weapons. When he died on Savior's Day, there are so-called Muslims with guns. These hypocrites working for the government anticipated the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's death and made sure he died. In September 1977, Jibril Muhammad came to Hollywood, California, and visited Louis Farrakhan at the hotel. At this meeting, he produced a letter written in 1966 by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to himself, to Jibril Muhammad. This was a response that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had to Jibril Muhammad's vision. She had, in October of 1966, in her vision, she saw the Honorable Elijah Muhammad under great strain and pressure. He was suffering, even as he was persevered in his mission. This caused her great distress. Continuing in her vision, she said she saw Master Muhammad appear, and he told her that he was with his servant. He made clear he would see him through that which he was enduring. She was comforted by his words. They recollated her experience to Jibril Muhammad. He wrote a letter to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and informed him of her vision and his response to it. When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote him back, he acknowledged the truth of what Master Muhammad told her in her vision. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he cannot go through all that which was going through without Master Muhammad. Then the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said in the letter, one day he will be the object of a particular death plot, which Allah will enable him to escape. According to Jibril Muhammad's understanding of the letters, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad clearly indicated to me that this future effort to murder him would be greater than all of the efforts which others had or were still making to take his life, which went back at least to 1935. In August 1967, after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad confirmed the vision of the Muhammad Speak newspaper in big bold letters was plot to murder Muhammad. Bolit Kushmir tooled upon the devil's plan, or Allah revealed to her the death plot and what happened. Allah delivered the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he will give his life. Reasonable minds will conclude that the 1966 death plot letter and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's response to it was realized in 1967, but Bernard Kushmir and Louis Farrakhan came to a under conclusion that the letter has something to do with what just happened in 1975, almost 10 years after Malik Kushmir's vision. Well, let's look at the environments of their minds when they reach this false understanding. Amen.
I'm presenting my Islamic presentation on This is America's final rally before the end. The judgment is now. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us signs to look for. He taught this for over 40 years, and he published a book with the same title. And he told us right before the end, America was going to rally. If you turn to chapter 49 of the Fall of America, it reads, He made the people rejoice for the time with a show of great prosperity, and at the height of that great prosperity, suddenly he destroyed them. This is the merciful law that Allah has put in nature. That is a allied person rally before the end. America is going to do the same. America is going to rally, and the people will think he is going to have a great future. America's rally is not going to end with her head hanging down in a parting and failing of the things that are common on her nation. No, she will be made to enjoy good times. The stock market going up and lots of shares being sold. The people all think everything is all right. But this is only the lull of the storm. In the Bible, it warns America. Ancient Babylon got the fulfilling position at her time. The King Darius came against her at the time of her wealth, drunkenness, and her laughing at the slaves she had made of the collegials. The king came then and overtook the sleeping guards in security of their life. The Bible prophesies the enemy saying, Come, let us up and destroy her. After, before, and unto the end of the wars salutations are determined. I want you to know that America is not getting that power to attack the nations of Erie. So how do we know this is the final rally? Well, let's look at the nature of this rally. For the past few years, the Federal Reserve Bank has been printing billions of dollars every month. When people receive money from the bank, and once you get along with them, they offer you an interest. They're taking this money and putting it into the stock market. So the way America rallies is through the power of that money. Amen.
Sister Rebecca, you may present.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Another sign of the Lord, Savior of Christ, is given in the book of Isaiah, in 19th chapter of the book of Isaiah, starting in verse 19. We have in that day shall there be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border.
What's the name of? Excuse me, Sister Rebecca. What's the name of your?
War of Christ. My apologies. War of Christ, part 5 of 13. Be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof to the Lord, and it shall be before its sign, and for a witness unto the Lord host in the land of Egypt. For they shall cry upon the Lord because of the oppressors, and he shall send them a Savior. And a great one, and he shall deliver them. And now, hearing this prophecy of Isaiah, we are told that a sign of the Savior or the deliverer or the Christ, a sign of his coming, is in the land of Egypt. Now, what I propose to you, that the greatest sign of Egypt, one of the most famous landmarks in the country of Egypt, is the Great Pyramid of Giza. The Great Pyramid of Egypt in Giza was originally 481 feet tall. This was before the Arabs who came into Egypt later. The Great Pyramid of Giza at least was covered in limestone. So when the Arabs came into Egypt, what they did is that they took the limestone off of all four sides of the Great Pyramid, and it used these limestones to build their religious mosques and temples. But anyway, before the Arabs did this, the original pyramids in Giza were 481 feet tall. Now, there are 12 inches in a ruler, and if you multiply if you want to know how many inches there are in 481 feet, you multiply 12 times 481 is 5,772 inches, applying to the value of 1 inch every year. We would have a year with the number of 5,772. Now, the year 5,772 in the Hebrew calendar is translated to the year 2012 in hours. And that's the end. I'm in.
Thank you, Sister Rebecca.
You're welcome.
Brother James, you may present.
Yes, sir. I'll be continuing my Islamic presentation on the Night of Majesty, where I had previously left off. The parable of the 10 virgins given to us in Matthew 25 signifies the believers and the disbelievers, with the 5 wise being the believers and the 5 foolish being the disbelievers. In the book of Psalms, chapter 14, first verse, it says, "The fool hath said in his heart, there is no God." This is in fact the equivalent of saying Allah is not Master Farad Muhammad, or Master Farad Muhammad is not Allah in person. And concerning the oil for the lamps that the wise took and the foolish did not take, the oil is the wisdom or teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. As David said in Psalms 23 and 5, "Thou anointest my head with oil." As we know, the brain or mind is located inside your head. If we look at a car, for example, the life fluid of a car is its oil. If we put oil on our skin to keep it alive and flourishing, then we could say that oil gives our skin life. Without the application of oil on the skin will readily crack and die. So the oil is the wisdom or knowledge of God, Master Farad Muhammad. In other words, it is life. His word gives us life. In the May 12, 1967 edition of the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad answered the question, how does one become a Muslim minister, with these words, quote, "Any believer who accepts the truth that God Almighty has brought to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever, is automatically a minister. He may start teaching this truth. Even the women, they all become ministers." Now the 5 foolish virgins and who they are will be made clear. In the book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6, we have, quote, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because that thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me." As the Son of Man pointed out in Black Messiah 2012, Allah is coming to gather those who accept and believe in his messenger. He is not coming back the second time to teach us anything. So, if you are not found with that knowledge, if you lack the knowledge of Master Farad Muhammad, Allah in person, like the 5 foolish who took no oil for their lamps, you will be destroyed. Also remember, many of our people rejected the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad after he left us. And in their having been rejected, they are thus no longer ministers. Master Farad Muhammad has thus then rejected them as his priests. And in the parable of the 10 virgins in Matthew 25, verse 6 says, "And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. Okay, so this verse says, at midnight the cry was made. Midnight means the middle of the night. So, in the middle of what night was this cry made? It was the night of majesty. Remember, the night of majesty is a period of time of Allah's last messenger. As I had previously covered, the night of majesty is referenced at 83 years or 1,000 months. Well, the middle of 83 years or half of 1,000 months is 41 and a half years. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad first met with Master Farad Muhammad on September 22nd, 1931. The scripture says, at midnight a cry was made, the bridegroom cometh. The bridegroom is God in person. On Savior's Day 1973, which is held every February 26th, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad declared that the Savior has arrived. Amen. And I'll stop right there for now with regard to the Night of Majesty, and we'll continue where I left off next week, if it be the will of Allah. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother James.
Yes, sir.
All right. Are there any questions or comments before we close today's Sunday school?
Yes, sir. I just want to say, for me, it was very enlightening and eye-opening to learn about how the oil gives life to the skin, as symbolic of the words giving us knowledge or wisdom, which is life in a sense. To me, like, I had heard that verse before about thou anointest my head with oil, but I never actually connected it like that, like put it together, like never actually really understood what it means. And something also interesting, I heard that the word Crisco, which is a brand name of a kind of cooking oil, actually comes from the word Christ. I think I heard this from some source which said that, like, Christ means anointed, and Crisco is a kind of oil which they used to, and I was aware that, you know, they used to use oil to anoint people, you know. So getting this kind of explanation on it for me was very enlightening, because, like, you know, living out here in New Mexico, we got bad air, bad tap water, and so living out here in New Mexico, you always got to have like some lotion handy or some oil, because you get dry skin really bad. And so that's all I wanted to point out, is the understanding what that actually means about how the oil gives life was, for me, it was like, oh, okay, you know, I get it. It makes sense. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for listening.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. If there are no more questions or comments, we're going to close today's Sunday school.
I have a couple comments to make before we close today.
Yes, sir. Walaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
Just a comment. You know, I've been, you know, observing, you know, the economy. Of course, I observe the economy every day, you know, and I just had a couple comments to make. You know, I was looking at a report this morning on the California economy, and you know, it was shown on the video. It was like I think it was like a 2-bedroom home. It looks like any home that you see in a you know, lower class neighborhood. They got like 2-bedroom homes, and I forget which part of California it was in, but they had referenced Mountain View, California, but it was like a poor section south of Mountain View, California. And this regular home looked like it was in any neighborhood, you know, a lower income neighborhood, was selling for $2 million for a home in California. A moment. And anyway, the California economy is so bad. The California economy is so bad that people are leaving the state in droves simply because they cannot afford to live there. You know, they're packing up, and from what I understand, a lot of them are going to Texas, different parts. You know, so the cost of living is skyrocketing. The taxes, the state income tax, and state sales tax is very high out there. and so many people can't afford to live there. And the reason why I'm kind of bringing this up is because this is a reflection of the time that we're living in. You know, there was a time in this country where, when you was like 16, 17, 18 years old, there was a time in America where when a teenager got to be this age, he could not wait to leave home and get his own apartment. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Are you all there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I couldn't hear you. There was a time in this country where you would, teenagers, they couldn't wait to get their own apartment and that kind of thing. Well, it's become more common that teenagers and young adults are not leaving home. They're staying home with their parents. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Because of the cost of living. You could leave and get an apartment and try to get a job that doesn't require a college education, but you will starve. Once the rent and utilities and the cost of food and everything, it's not gonna be an agreeable and joyful experience for during this day and time for a teenager to leave home and get an apartment by himself and try to support himself working at, I don't know, Walmart, these kind of places. The economy is bad, so more and more and more children are not leaving the homes of their parents. They're staying home longer. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the economy, I mean, we have an array of listeners in this room. I think Sister Rebecca's the oldest. She's about 68 or whatever. So she would, and I'm 45. Brother James and 30. So we have three or four, actually about four generations in here. Sister Rebecca could tell you, I'm sure, there was a time in this country where leaving home was not a problem and getting an apartment was not a problem. Matter of fact, I'm sure she may bear me witness that in her day and time growing up, their children actually, some of them got emancipated. America was in such financial condition that a child, some of them couldn't wait to turn 18. They would go to court and get emancipated at 17 because they was in that much of a hurry to leave home and get their own apartment. Is that correct, Sister Rebecca?
That's correct.
You could leave home
Yes,
16,
sir.
17. There were some teenagers in this country that were still in high school, would go to court and get emancipated and leave home at 16, get their own apartment and go work at a factory or somewhere and support themselves. Because they were just that possibility was open, but that's not the case today. The economy is upside down, and I think it was I don't know who did that. Was it Rob Feek? Who read that? I don't remember which one of you did it. Anyway, was it Amaria? Maybe Amaria. Anyway, I'm going somewhere with this. See what's going on with the economy. They print the money, okay? And what's going on is that America is changing. She's going from a meritorious society to an aristocratic society. When I say meritorious, meaning your success depends on your level of effort and hard work to get somewhere. But now, in this day and time, that's changing. It's becoming more aristocratic, meaning who you know, what connections you have. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what's taking place when the Federal Reserve print this money? They print it by the billions. What takes place is this: people that work on Wall Street, people that work at these banks, and the politicians and those people, various segments of society that is connected, they're able to get the money that the Federal Reserve is printing at near zero interest, meaning free money. Then they're able to take this money that they print out of thin air, and they're able to take this money and invest it and put this money into the stock market and buy companies. They can buy Microsoft or Amazon, Google, whatever. So they take this money at 0% interest, maybe 0.1%, whatever low interest rate they can get, and they buy stock in the stock market. Okay, and that's how they multiply their wealth. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but so what's the effect on the economy? Well, if you're not connected to get these low interest loans from the Federal Reserve or your cronies, well, if you are a homeowner or if you're someone that's trying to come up, you don't get money if you're able to get a bank loan. You don't get the bank loan at 0.1%. You don't get a credit card at 1%. Your credit card might be 19, 24, 30, 29% on your credit card. That's basically a credit card, just a loan from a bank. Or if you go to a bank to get a home, you're not going to get a loan on the money at 1%. You may get it at 11, 18, 21%, whatever the rate is when you go into the bank to buy a home. It's not going to be at the same rate that the bank or someone connected to the Federal Reserve is able to get that money. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you may not understand, but just listen, because this is going to get in your face in the next few days. What this is doing is destroying the middle class, because if the only people that has access to the wealth of America is the top 10%, and namely the 1%, that means that the bottom 90%, if they don't have access to get loans in the wealth of America, that means that there's no social financial climb upward, meaning that your position or your economic status in this country is becoming stagnated. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If you wipe out the middle class, there is no upward mobility. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is what's taking place. This country is becoming aristocratic. It is your opportunity, not for work, not for a job, your opportunity to create wealth for yourself and your family and your children. The opportunities are becoming more and more scarce. And what's taking place in this country, you have people that are deemed the working poor. They make just enough money from check to check to survive. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But this is dangerous because this country was not founded as an aristocracy. This country was founded against King George of England. It was founded as a republic. Okay? And so the foundation and the fabric of the country is not aristocratic. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if the foundation and the moray of the country is not aristocratic, and the government and the upper class here is changing the economic face of America, what's going to take place is that is going to cause what cause tension, because the laws, the culture of this country is not aristocratic. We don't have a king. We don't have a queen here. This is not England. This is America. It's a republic. But there is an aristocratic class of people that are being made in this country. And your efforts to climb up the economic ladder, which is I would say a direct reflection of your social status. Your economic status and your social status kind of go hand in hand. So your efforts to climb up the social economic ladder of this country, the rungs are being destroyed. And what's taking place is that the rich are becoming isolated and the poor are becoming isolated. Okay? And so what I'm trying to convey is this, that this country is headed for destruction, economically speaking, revolution, tension. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, now this came from the Sister Rebecca may know this, but I wasn't there because I could never verify this information by in the Muhammad speech or by some lecture the messenger gave. But some of the older believers in the Nation of Islam, they told us that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that what's going to take place is that white people, poor, the lower class, they're going to what was said, the messenger said that they're going to go to Washington D.C. They're going to show up and they're going to grab those congressmen and those government officials and put them in pickup trucks and drag them off. In other words, revolution. Did you hear the same thing, Sister Rebecca?
I heard talk like that, but not those exact words. I heard that there would be a type of a revolution that where families, 2 and 3 families would live together, and it would be total chaos, but not those exact words, but to the same effect, yes.
Okay. So anyway, this is where the society is heading. Okay. So your opportunities to this is not economics class. This is theology. But I'm gonna say this statement. There's a difference between money and wealth. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Basically, wealth is something that you possess that generates your wealth is a possession that you have that helps meet. It's a self-generating possession that meets your needs, and that one of your needs may be money. Okay, like for instance, if I own a farm and I had 10 cows, okay, well those 10 cows would be a form of wealth because the cows would generate or if I had chickens. But the chickens is a form of wealth because the chickens are going to lay eggs every 28 hours and the cow is going to give me milk. The only thing I have to do is basically let the cows eat out in the field, which grows naturally and it rains naturally, and the same with the chickens. So I don't have to get money to buy milk and eggs because what I already own is self-generated. That's a basic idea of what wealth is. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if you do not have wealth, okay, let's say Amaria and Kamal. Amaria owns the chickens and Kamal owns the cows, and we don't. That means that for the rest of our lives, if we want eggs and we want milk, we will always have to work to get Amaria money for her eggs. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We will always have to work to give Kamal money for that milk because we don't have any wealth. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now even if you're dumb and stupid enough to be put in this position, at a certain point, your soul, you start to wake up, and you're like, wait a minute, something's wrong with this. You mean something? It dawns on you. No matter how great your job is, no matter how good things seem to be, one day you wake up like, you know what? If I don't get some chickens, if I don't have my own cows, I'm gonna be giving this man and this woman money for the rest of my life. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is what's taking place on a mass level in America. One day, and I'm not talking about in 20 years. I'm talking about soon. People in this country are going to wake up and realize that, wait a minute, I'm never I'm never gonna be able to retire. I'm never gonna be able to stop work. That's a reality that Sister Rebecca can tell you about.
Yes, sir.
She worked. She gets a Social Security check, and she barely has enough money for her rent and food. You understand?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Now listen to me. According to the admissions of this government and well-respected economists, they are telling you and me that when we become Sister Rebecca's age, Social Security is going to be a thing of the past. It's not going to be there for us because the fund is broke. Not only that, even if they make Social Security available, the age by which time you get it is going to increase. Instead of being 65 to get Social Security, they're going to push it to 70, 75. By the time you're able to get your Social Security, if it's there, most of the people are going to be ready to die anyway. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when the collective consciousness of America, of the people, realize this, they're going to realize that they're going to be working till they drop. They're going to realize that they're like a mouse in a wheel, and they're not getting anywhere. And then they're going to start looking at the people that got everything. This is the basis for revolution. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is what happened in this country back in the 1760s, before the American Revolution, when the people at a certain point they got tired of giving this white man in England all this tax money, and they're not getting anywhere. The people rose up. That's what's taking place today. You are in the same position. As I told you last summer, this is the 7 years of tribulation. Okay, and I'm telling you, by my study and my meditation, by 2023 to 2024, this whole, economically speaking, this whole thing is going to be turned upside down. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so anyway, like my children, there's a generational shift in thinking. I have a son that's 18 years old, and during the time, and what I spoke on speaks to him. My son has yet, and this is not a comment on him, it's a comment on the economic times. My son has yet to bring up to me, or I dare even flirt with the idea of leaving home and getting his own apartment, supporting himself. That's actually unthinkable in this environment, in this economy. Okay, so what you all have to realize is a statement that Sister Rebecca made is what what they said the messenger. I can't verify this, but I believe it's true. What they said the messenger said is coming true. 2 and 3 families living in the same home. That's what's coming. Even before this economic reality, me personally, I have no plans on sending my children out in the world and and hearing from them every Christmas. I don't have any plans like that. I want my children with me, like the Queen of England got all her children with her, or like Michael Jackson's family, the Jacksons. They all live in the same mansion. Or like you look at that movie Coming to America with Eddie Murphy. Notice when Eddie Murphy came to America, he didn't stay. He came and got his wife and took her back to his palace in Africa. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That's what rich ruling people do. So these economic times are actually forcing you to do what's natural anyway. Because I promise you, if it was of the social acceptance for people to for the family unit to consist of the mother, father, uncle, grandpa, and grandma in the same household. You know, like they used to have on television. Remember Sister Rebecca, remember that show, The Waltons?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's a television show. Bro James may have heard of it. He's younger than me, but my children, I'm sure, haven't seen it. On American television, they used to have a show called The Waltons, and the American family that was displayed was an American family that consisted of the grandparents in the home of the children. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If that social or cultural cultural practice was practiced today, there would be a lot less situations where your children getting harmed by babysitters and strangers and the like. Because if your children are home with the grandparents, chances are that their chances of becoming harmed or molested, the chances are greatly reduced if they are home with their grandparents. Do you understand?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
But in this society, under this new idea of family, where the grandparents are sent to an old folks' home or you're separated from them, this opens the door to all the perverseness that's happening to the children across this nation. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Same thing goes for women in the workplace. There was a time in America where it was not a shame for a woman to be what's the word he's called? A homemaker. That was not a shameful position. You understand?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yes, sir.
It was socially acceptable for a woman to stay at home with her children and become a homemaker. It was nothing wrong with that. Today, I really can't really comment on whether people think there's something wrong with it. It's just not practical. Because today, it takes two incomes to support a household, generally speaking. There are exceptions to the rule, but typically, for a family today, for you to live comfortable, it takes two incomes to support a family. Do you understand?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So, what are the effects? I'm trying to show you how economics ties directly into morality. I'm trying to show you this, how important money and wealth and these kind of things are. It is a foolish statement or it's a foolish idea to believe or a rationale to hold that somehow that having a lot of money is a bad thing. This little social game that they play on us, you can have the world but give me Jesus. There's just something amiss about having money. Like, money is a bad thing. I don't want to be rich. I don't want all that money. No. Money and wealth is how you sustain a society, a culture, and a household. Do you understand?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yes, sir.
Now look at society. We don't have to speak on the morality of homosexuality, but let's just look at the economics of homosexuality. See, when the woman was at home, okay, and she was not out in the workforce, and she was at home, look at what's going on today. If those women that accuse Bill Cosby of tainting their drinks and molesting and raping them, if those women would have been at home and not out in society trying to get a job or trying to become a movie star and out in the workforce or seeking employment for whatever reason, the opportunity for men such as Bill Cosby to commit such acts and thereby their occurrence of happening would be greatly reduced. if she wasn't there to begin with, chances are that particular situation wouldn't have took place. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But let's look at it. This country has created a society by socially, it is encouraged that women go out and work. Socially, it's regarded as a good thing. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing. And the thing has become it's old fashioned to think that a woman should be at home, being a homemaker, raising children, being a housemaker. That's considered to be kind of passé, as opposed to the modern thinking about women's liberation, women in the workforce, and making it on your own. These are socially accepted norms of today. But if you go back 60 years, there was a different mindset in this country. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But let's look at this situation. Now it is socially acceptable for a woman to go to college, get her own job, buy her own car, have her own house, and and hopefully find a partner that she's compatible with. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now watch this. If you put women in that position, or if a society has women in such position, then if you do have lesbian or homosexual women in your society, then the opportunity for them to intermingle and find mates and practice that lifestyle and support their legal rights to the lifestyle is multiplied. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
But if the woman was at home and she was a homemaker, the opportunity to engage in such lifestyle will be greatly reduced because she's not out in the workforce seeking to support herself. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
The practice of going out and supporting yourself and your family is a masculine energy throughout time. It is a masculine energy to go out and kill that bull or to get that fish to come back and feed your family and your children. That's considered a masculine energy. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's fast forward to today. If we consider that it is a masculine energy to go out and provide for yourself and your family, to make it happen, if that's a masculine thing to do, if you put women in a position to exercise that masculine energy and you call that normal for a woman to do that, are you surprised that you have the social situation where women feel it's quite natural and normal to be lesbian and to seek another woman as her partner? Do you see how? No, sir. What?
Not surprising. No, sir.
Yes,
right.
sir.
Do you see how economics determine? Economics is the point I'm making here is this. Economics is essential an essential part of societal and human behavior. It all comes to economics. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And this idea that I can testify that I grew up with of trying to somehow downplay money and just being a good person and not worrying about money, that mentality, that's got to go. Economics is vital. No matter where you stand on any moral issue, economics plays a role. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. The reason why we have the situation of of homosexuality, especially among women, is because of the economic reality that we live in. I am not saying that such practice could not be could not occur during 60 or 100 years ago, but it did. But I'm saying the affluence of it, the spread of it, the commonness of it is a direct result of our economic reality. Everything at a certain point comes back to economics. And the reason I'm harping on this is for this reason. When before Master Farad Muhammad left, he told the messengers the first thing that Allah promised the Muslim, the very first thing that he promised us was money, good homes, and friendship in all walks of life. But the first thing that God himself promised us was money. Is that correct, Sister Rebecca?
That's right. Yes, sir.
Think about that. God himself promised us the righteous money. Why would God promise? Why would he make that his first promise? Because it takes money. It takes economics to sustain whatever your religious dogma is. If you ain't got the money and the economics to support your beliefs will not become widely practiced and will not become a reality. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Money, economics, and wealth is supremely important. Not the worship of it, but the recognition. It's a tool. You cannot build a house without a hammer and nail. You cannot drive a car without gasoline. This country, and what these people taught us in their schools and in their church made fools of us. They made absolute fools of us. Now I want to change that. You must recognize we don't worship money, but money is a supremely important tool to build the society that you want to live in. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And it's such a supremely important tool that Allah himself, the creators of the heavens and the earth, the universe, the first thing he promised you was money. So, but getting back to today, we are being forced to come and live together. Of course, like I said, the family model. And my mother, before she died, I remember she made a comment to me. My mother told me, she said, Kevin, wouldn't it be nice if we all could just put our money together? She said, if we all came together and we all put our money together, we could live in a mansion. My mother was not the smartest woman of arithmetic. But, right before she died, we had this conversation. She started thinking about the money that my Aunt Mary made, Betty, Darrell. She started doing the numbers in her head. And on the intuitive, she didn't have a sheet of paper and an ink pen. But on an intuitive level, my mother realized that we put all our money together. She said, Kevin, we could all live good. I said, yeah, I agree. But she articulated the way I always felt. And anyway, so the economic reality of this country is changing, and you are headed for social tension because there are only so many people that the state of Texas, Arizona, Colorado, there's only so many people that these states can support that's leaving California. Not to mention the immigration south of the border from Mexico. Okay, so
yes, sir.
The social economic ladder of this country is becoming destroyed, and what you're going to see in the next few years is an isolation of the rich and isolation of the lower classes, and no means of social economic mobility. Meaning, basically, for the most part, you're going to your social status in this country if you don't already have the wealth or very close to having it right now, your current social economic status in this country will remain the same. And once that takes place, the people will realize that the only way to change that is through revolution. When they realize that economically they have no other way out, that there is no horizon for them, that's when you see revolution. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And I got one more comment before I let you go. You know, a few years ago, without going to my history, I came to Virginia. I took the insurance exam to sell insurance, and I passed it. But when I was studying the insurance exam, because you get the insight on different insurance contracts, I found out that when you go to work for a company, that without your permission, a company can take an insurance policy out on you, a life insurance policy. In case you die, the company will be the beneficiary and get paid. And also when I learned when I was studying for the insurance exam that even if you quit a job, they can still maintain that life insurance policy. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Not exactly.
Okay, what I'm saying is this, Brother James. If you go get a job and work for McDonald's, and then you go get a job and work for Walmart, during the time you work for McDonald's, the McDonald's company can take out a life insurance policy on you in case you die. Even after you quit, they can keep paying the premium and maintain that life insurance policy on you. That's what I'm telling you.
Really?
Yes, sir. Okay. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is, again, I'm going back to economics. Everything turns on economics. Whether we're talking social, moral, theological, everything turns on economics. Now, what you have to realize is with the collapse in the economy and the way things are going, these things you have to know. Take, for instance, your mother. Your mother works at the at Opelousas General Hospital as a registered nurse. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
I'm talking to my children.
Sorry, my apology.
Oh, I mean, I know you understand. But do you all understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Listen to me. A few months ago, when your mother was not there, I was telling you, or she wasn't in our conversation, but I was telling you all the problems that she was having with those white folks at the hospital, and I ain't even talked to her. I said, I bet your mother done dealt with this, and these white folks tried that, and they did this to her. And then remember y'all went and asked your mother, did this happen? And I hadn't talked to her. She said, yeah, that's true. Everything I told you that your mother was going through on a social level at the hospital, everything I told you happened. Y'all remember that conversation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, listen to me very carefully. Make no mistake. Your mother, as a convenient example, that hospital, without your mother's knowledge, they have a life insurance policy on your mother. And if your mother died, you will not get 1 red cent of that life insurance policy. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Listen to me very carefully. That hospital has a life insurance policy on all the nurses and doctors in there. Now, when your mother went to get a job, in order for her to work at that hospital, she had to have certain vaccines given to work in the medical environment. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And guess who administered those vaccines that they injected your mother with? That same hospital. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
When you are an employer in this country and you have employees, you pay to the government what's known as unemployment insurance, meaning every month or every year or every month you pay a premium to the state and federal government, or to the state and federal government, in case that employee becomes unemployed, for unemployment department to pay them. Each employer pays the state and the federal government unemployment insurance on each of its employees. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That there is no return on investment for a company to pay a tax called an unemployment insurance tax. There is no return on investment. That's just money gone. There's no return on that. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Listen, even I know I'm talking economics and money, but this is the newest one. I'm teaching you religion. This is theology, because this is going to reality. Now, just use your brain. If a company is going to pay a tax or an insurance premium in case this person gets fired or becomes unemployed and they got to pay this money, why wouldn't the same company put a life insurance policy on that same individual? You understand?
Yes, sir.
But let me get to the point. The point is using your mother as an example. That hospital has a life insurance policy on your mother. Probably a registered nurse, black woman in her 40s. They probably got a $1 million or $2 million policy on your mother, on Sandra. They probably got a $2 million policy on her. Now, same hospital administers the vaccines and injected it into your mother. Now, your mother is an employee. So, as an employee that's paying taxes, the state of Louisiana and the federal government has an obligation to your mother upon retirement to pay her Social Security and other benefits. Okay? That's the obligation of the government. And there's a current obligation of the employee to pay unemployment insurance tax and other OSHA taxes on your mother. So your mother is an economic unit. She's like a piece of stock that works at that hospital. Okay. Now, listen to me carefully. If your mother dies early, say she dies in 5 years, and they collect on that policy, it is to the employer's economic benefit that your mother do not retire, that she does die early. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to show you something. And this is not conspiracy talk. This is just reality. Okay? If someone has the economic interest in your demise at a future point, why would it is nothing? There is nothing abnormal by you suspecting what they're doing to you when they inject you with vaccines. That's a perfectly logical fear or concern you can have. If this person got a life insurance policy on me and they're injecting me with all these chemicals, I'm not so sure that maybe what they're injecting me with is for my benefit. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Listen. Listen. There's an example of this. There's a film, a documentary on this very situation. A white woman working at Walmart, a cake decorator. This is in I think Michael Moore's film, Capitalism, A Love Affair. Something. It's one of these documentaries. Anyway, this white woman in her 30s was a cake decorator at Walmart. She quit, did something else, and she died for some reason. Walmart collected on her $80,000 upon her demise. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And the family found out about it. But okay, this sounds very dark, very conspiratorial, maybe entertaining. Mr. Muhammad, where are you going with this? What I am saying to you is that, you know, just about everything you see and everything that you've been told is a lie. Okay? The point I'm making is this. What I'm trying to show you is this. If companies across America have life insurance policies on millions of Americans, then it is to the benefit of the rich of this country that there be drugs in society, that there be crime in society, that there be wars in the Middle East. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What I am trying to show you, that it is an economic necessity that there be crime, murder, and war in this world. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It's just like the U.S. military. The U.S. military, especially those reserve units, they have a direct hand-in-hand relationship with business. And I promise you that every business that hires a U.S. Reserve military member, that business, what the military serviceman does not know is that that business has a life insurance policy on them. So it is to that business best interest to hire many military servicemen, because they do the numbers, they do the actuaries. If we hire 1,000 armed force members, a certain percentage of these members are going to meet their demise in the theater of war. It's all about money. Everything is religion, your God, your morality. Everything is centered on economics and wealth. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to get you to see this thing. I'm going to give you a couple more examples, and then I'm going to let you go. You remember Whitney Houston?
Yes, sir.
Whitney Houston died in a hotel bathroom in a tub. She drowned in a tub in a hotel where on the floor beneath her there was a party with stars, Hollywood stars, music stars all over the place. And it was reported that Whitney Houston died upstairs in the bathroom, and the party continued. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you look at that from a superficial point of view, you may say, "Wow, those people are pretty flaky. That's pretty wild." That, man, anybody, ain't gotta be Whitney Houston. Anybody died that you know upstairs. Why would you keep partying, right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Now, but the question that nobody ever asks. See, I study insurance. This is what I'm telling you is reality. Like I said, we live in a time where everything I say can be Googled and fact-checked as I say it. Look up, I think it's called peasant insurance, whatever it's called. The point is this. What they don't tell you on CNN, what they don't report on the news, what they don't do their investigations on is who got paid when Whitney Houston died. Who had insurance on her when she died? Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Do you know, I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I knew winos and crackheads and heroin addicts that lived for years and years homeless in Detroit. I seen them all the time. Do you understand?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Look at Prince and Michael Jackson. These men were not even 60. They have more money than me and you probably will ever have in our lives. Michael Jackson died with a doctor in the same house with him. And Prince died at the age of 58, and he was known to be a health nut. He had a slight addiction to fentanyl. But basically, from the testimony, the man was very health conscious, but he's dead. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What they don't talk about is who held the life insurance policies on Prince, Michael Jackson, Tupac, Biggie Smalls, 9/11, when America got attacked allegedly by Saudi Arabian terrorists. Who owned the insurance policies on those buildings? Who owned the stock options or insurance policies on those airliners that crashed into those buildings? When I was in law school, my second year, I forget what class, I think it was obligation, one of them classes, my professor, he's a white man, he told me, he said, always follow the money. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So basically what I'm telling you is over the next 7 years with this economy, there will be trouble in the Middle East. There will be terrorism in Africa because people got to die. Because the economy can't support them. It's all economics. It's all economics. What happened after World War I? How many millions of soldiers died around the world? And you had what, the Roaring 20s? Remember that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What happened after World War II? And all those millions of soldiers and people died. The American economy boomed. This is reality. Hold on. So what I'm trying to show you is that this system is so wicked and so deceptive and so deadly. The deception level and wickedness of this Western civilized system known as America is so wicked that the people worship it and think it's the best system ever devised and that America is great. When the entire system is insidious and wicked and demonic and is seeking to destroy the people, and they can't. The people are like frogs in a boiling pot, and it's slowly the temperature is being turned up. That's the reality, and these are things you need to think about. So there's a verse in the Bible. It says, he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. I think that's in Colossians or Corinthians. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it's a wicked game. It's a wicked game. And while this system exists, there will always be drugs in black communities. Black men and women will continually across this country be killed by the police. Why? Because it's an economic interest. If you go to prison, the average amount to keep you in jail is that these private prisons owned by private people, not the state, they make $50,000 on average a year to keep you in a prison cell. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's all about economics. Money is power. And that's the reality of the situation. So while you pray and while you practice righteousness, there is nothing wrong with seeking power and wealth to protect yourself and to propagate your religion. It's all about, everything is about economics. And the first thing they taught the black slave in America is not to care about money and to wait for our reward after we die. That's the main tenet of Christianity. You get your reward on the other side. And if you follow that religion, believe in that religion, there's a good chance you ain't really thinking about economics and all its implications. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm not trying to be funny, but the truth is, black people will be better off practicing Judaism than Christianity. If I had my choice, if they were not going to be Muslims, I would have it that all black people would be Jews, because they had a mind on that money. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, Rafiq.
Yes, sir. Are there any questions or comments before we close today's Sunday school?
Yes, sir. Just want to say that's very fascinating, interesting about morals and money, morals, ethics, and economy. And in the economy, I learned a lot. So I feel very refreshed with knowledge. And I also heard that before the 9/11 incident, there was some corporation that took out insurance policy on those buildings like a few days before the planes hit the towers. So, I feel like I learned a lot today. So grateful. Praise Allah.
Yes, sir. Right. If there are no more questions or comments, we're going to close today's Sunday school with the Muhammad children giving their Quran prayers, starting with Daim.
Surely I have turned myself, being upright to him, who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of the polytheists. Surely my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, and my death are all for Allah, Lord of the worlds. No associate has he, and this is my commandment, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King, there is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against all my faults, but none grants protection against faults but thee. And guide me to the best of morals, but none guides to the best of them but thee, and turns away from me the evil morals but thee. Amen.
Surely I have turned myself, being upright to him, who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am polytheist. Truly my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, and my death are all for Allah, the Lord of the world. No associate has me, this is my commandment, and I am those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King, there is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against all my faults. But none grants protection against faults with thee, and guides me to the best of morals. But none guides to the best of them with me, and turns away from me the evil morals. Amen.
Surely I turn myself to bring upright to him, who has originated the heavens and the earth, and I am out of the polytheists. Surely my prayers, my sacrifices, my life, and my death are all for Allah, the Lord of the world. No associate has me, and this is my commandment, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King, there is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against all my faults. The name grants protection against faults with thee, or guides me to the best of morals. The name guides to the best of but thee, or turns me away from the evil morals of thee. Amen.
In the name of Allah, who appeared and is in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Salam.